Oh, okay, excellent.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're ready to go.
Okay, so for everybody who can hear me, hello and welcome to our series of interviews on the Hurley Convergence Center. I am Andrew Steele. All right, and with me is Hall Cheshire today. Can you, thank you for joining us. Can you give us a little bit about your current and former role as it pertains to the Hurley Convergence Center?
Sure. So I'm Hall Cheshire. I'm the acting Chief Information Officer here at UMW. I've been in this role about 3 years. My real job when I'm not the acting CIO is the Executive Director of IT Infrastructure. So inside that title is servers, storage, desktop computers, laptops, telephony, networking. So all the technical infrastructure that's here on campus is within my area. Been with the university 7 years, and happy to talk to you about the HCC.
Well, that's wonderful. All right. So specifically with your involvement in the HCC, you dealt with data centers and a lot of what goes on behind the walls here. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the history of data center capability at UMW has been marginal for many years. So before this building came into being, our data center was located in the basement of George Washington Hall. I put quotes around the phrase data center because it was a room that was never really designed to be a true data center. So we had to add controls after the fact, and it wasn't ideal. So there was, for fire suppression as an example, wet sprinkler system. Obviously, if there's a fire and water discharges, it's not good for equipment. So there were issues like that in the basement of GW that created some risks for the equipment that would be stored traditionally in a data center. So one of the many benefits of this building was the opportunity to design a true data center from the ground up, and we're very happy with the way it turned out. So it's got all of the environmental controls and physical and security controls you would expect of a real data center. So it's got gaseous fire suppression system within the room, harmless to equipment, harmless to people, but when it's discharged, it'll interact with the chemical reaction needed for combustion, so suppress a fire without hurting anybody or any equipment. It's got a whole room UPS system which will hold the entire load in the room long enough to transition to generator power. The data center is backed up by 2 generators, either of which can hold the whole load of the room, so you can fail over from one to the other. N+1 air conditioning and humidity control. N+1 meaning there's 1 unit more than you need to cool the room. So if one of those units goes down, everything still continues to cool correctly. Camera surveillance, within and outside the room. Card access only, to enter the space. So again, we're happy with all the controls that exist in that space. They're all important when you think about the value to the organization of the assets that are in that room. So obviously there's a lot of gear in there, both servers and network gear and storage, and that obviously isn't cheap. But more than that, all that gear houses and stores a lot of organizational data, which is very valuable for the organization in general, but also just operationally. So it's important that rooms stay up and stay up all the time, because if the systems within it have a problem, we all have a problem doing our day-to-day work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wonderful. I remember reading in one of the files I received from Mr. Morello that they were originally planned to be 4 generators.
That's true.
They knocked it down to 2, partly as a cost-saving measure, but they also did it with the thought in mind that any one of these generators could put the whole building back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the original design goes back to, as you know, in researching the building, the origins of the idea of the building go back many years. So the people who played a role in deciding what it would look like and what would be in it are many. So if you go back a number of years when the building was still kind of in its design phase, the CIO at the time was thinking, well, maybe we could build a data center that could house and support not only UMW's needs, but other organizations' needs as well. So it could be sort of a regional data center for other businesses or other organizations within the Fredericksburg area, the Fredericksburg region. So in his mind, he wanted to kind of up the level of the data center and have redundant systems. So not only 2 generators, but those are redundant as well, which probably might have been appropriate if that was indeed the way the data center would be used. But over time, it became clear for a variety of reasons that this data center would really only be used by UMW. That level of redundancy really wasn't necessary. So getting down to 2 generators, either of which can hold the entire room load, was fine.
It's interesting. I never knew that before about the planning process.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from the data center, what technological features of the building really stand out to you as different from what other universities have?
That's a great question. I mean, as you know, there's a lot of neat spaces, within this building. So a lot of collaboration spaces with that are configured in a way, hopefully, that's convenient for faculty, staff, and students to sit down, plug in their laptop, and easily collaborate and see what each other is working on and share ideas and hopefully innovate, in the ideas they're putting forth and discussing. So just the collaboration spaces alone, I think, are pretty nice. But then when you get to other features of the building, like the room we're sitting in right now, this video production room, is pretty amazing, piece of technology. The digital auditorium similarly provides a space that can seat a number of people, but has pretty sophisticated sound system in it and projection system. So I would say those 2, spaces, the one we're in now and the digital auditorium, are definitely pretty neat. A feature of the building that's pretty neat too is just the video wall, that's in the lobby as well. In addition to pure technology, though, another thing that the building afforded was the opportunity to co-locate a number of departments that work with technology routinely and have a lot of synergies and work with each other very often, right? So it's DTLT, the Department of Learning, Teaching and Technologies, the Digital Knowledge Center. A number of our IT offices are in this building. Our security group, our help desk is here. Our network group and our data center group, we're all here in the same building. And as you know, we have a connection, a physical connection directly into the library. So just the physical space affords the opportunity to co-locate people who are focused on technology, and hopefully that generates ideas and collaboration that provide benefits, to everybody.
Can't leave out the library.
Can't leave out the library, absolutely not.
All right. So how do you think this building is going to age in general? 5, 10, 20 years down the line?
You mean from a technology perspective?
Technology, use.
Yeah. Well, I think in the case of use, I'm hoping it's going to age well, in the sense that it's been very successful in terms of the reaction it's gotten from students, faculty, and staff. People like to come here because of the technology that's here and the opportunities it affords them to collaborate and study. So I wouldn't see that changing, over the next 5 to 10 years. I think it'll still be a centerpiece, building in that respect. The technology, as you know, ages and gets obsolete. So while these physical technology spaces like the one we're in now might not change much in terms of its footprint, the technology that's in these rooms will need to be refreshed over time. There'll be new innovations, in all these different technological areas, and we'll have to look to upgrade. I mean, it can be something as simple as the capacity of our wireless network. That technology is changing all the time, so we would refresh those wireless access points over time to provide people with better signal strength, better speed, more concurrent connections. Similarly, the network infrastructure within the building. Over time, 5 years might be a little soon to be doing that, but certainly within the next 10, we'd be doing some of it.
All right. Did you have any other thoughts on the building? It's so far early history and its use in the future. Anything?
No, just again to say that I think it's been very successful in the sense that, again, people love to come here, and so I think it's it's meeting its original vision and its original mission, which was to create an academic common space that everyone could use, but that's infused with technology and hopefully stimulates, again, sort of innovation and collaborative discussions. So I think it's a pretty cool building. I think just for me personally, too, while I love Georgian architecture and white columns and all that kind of stuff, I love the fact that inside this building has a very contemporary design, and I think it's another reason why people are drawn to it. It's different. It's different from the other buildings on campus in that respect. It has a very open layout, a lot of glass, a lot of transparency, which kind of, again, lends to that, sort of collaborative atmosphere. So I think it's a beautiful building that's meeting its original idea and vision, and I think it's going to continue to be successful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm Andrew Steele, and I'm sitting here with Paul Cheshire. You're right now the acting CIO of the university. And I would like to note for anybody who listens to this, probably this won't get into the video, but it'll be in the raw footage. If you want to listen to this in the future, this was made entirely in the video production lab and the video editing lab next door, right here in the same building we're talking about.
Thanks, Andrew.
That's good.
All right, excellent. Need this back?
That's all right. Shake your hand. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be seeing it online. We're looking at sometime.